Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Most High thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
All right. We dissecting the love, the two greatest commandments: love thy neighbor as thyself, and love the Most High. If you love the Most High, you will not have another God before Him. Continue.
Verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth.
Okay, so this includes statues of men or so-called saints, like in the Catholic churches. Don't make it, and especially don't bow and pray to it. Nor pictures of so-called Jesus. These are graven images. The Most High made man in the image of Himself, and there is nothing we can do to complement His creation. So don't make any graven images. He made the image of Himself, which is man. We are not to try to make images, graven images, and worship them. And if we don't do that, what is that? That is keeping the commandment, and that's doing what? It's showing love to the Most High. So I'm showing you how the commandments are keeping the two greatest commandments that Christians say we're supposed to do. Even though in the same breath they say we're supposed to keep the two greatest commandments, but we don't keep the law. I'm showing you how keeping the law keeps those greatest commandments. Continue.
Verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Most High thy power, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
And see, now, if we decide to do these things that show that we hate the Most High, not only is He going to deal with us, but that iniquity that we have shown to Him is going to deal with the second and third generations. So our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will be suffering because of what we've done. And we can see that now by the state that we're in because of our forefathers. Continue.
Verse 6. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
See, there you go again with that love, meaning to keep His commandments. But to those who love Him, He's going to show mercy. And if you love Him, you'll keep His commandments. Continue.
Verse 7. Thou shalt not take the name of thy Most High thy power in vain. For the Most High will not hold him guiltless that taketh His name in vain.
Reverence His name, not to lie against it or to act as if it is of no value, swearing by it, using it in idolatry and in evil, using it frivolously. Those are the things. That's what it means when He says not to take His name in vain. The name of the Most High should always be spoken and referred to with the utmost respect and glory. It shouldn't be used as a punchline. That's using His name in vain. And when we don't use it in vain, that's what? That's showing love. That's keeping the commandments. Continue.
Verse 8. Remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy.
Now see, this is the most overlooked and least kept. Even though all of the commandments, this is the one He told us to remember. He didn't tell us to remember any of the other ones. But He said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Don't forget it, no matter what the Pope or Constantine might say. And Constantine is the one that established the Sunday worship, the Roman, the Roman king of the Roman Empire. So regardless of what he says or what the Pope may say, we are to keep the Sabbath. As we have come to learn lately, it is key to remember the Sabbath in order to keep time of the holidays, of the months, the seasons, the years, as well as the jubilees. The Sabbath is a measure in which they have sought to change as to confuse us. That's part of the reason that they've changed the Sabbath, so that we will be confused on keeping time. The Most High, He set up the Sabbath along with the months as well as the seasons and as well as the Jubilees. The Jubilees is a measure of time. These are all measures of time for us to be able to be aware. Those who keep the Most High's. First off, let's make it plain, so that Israel will be aware of the times that we're in. He marks it out like he described to all the prophets what would happen throughout time and dispensations of time. And the way that we know what dispensation of time we in is by marking time through Sabbaths, through months, through seasons, through jubilees. Now, if they change that, if they change the time, if they say that it's 365 days a year when the Most High said it's 364, if they change the months within a year when the Most High says there's 30 and 31 months in a year, and they say there's 29, 30, and 31 months in a year, then we don't know where, if you don't understand and know how to get back to the Most High's calendar, then we don't know where we are in time. And even within prophecy. That's why he said, remember the Sabbath, because it builds upon the measurements of time that we need to know where we are in the dispensation of prophecies. So it's more important. It's very important in itself that he said, keep it and hallow it. But it builds upon that. It's important that we keep it for other reasons as well. So continue reading.
Verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Verse 11. And in 6 days the Most High made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that them it is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Okay, so we just looked at the first 4 commandments, and they all cover the ways that we show the Most High love. You know, that last commandment we just read, you know, you either get people that say we don't keep the commandments, and they'll refer to some other scripture as to how to govern themselves. And they'll say that they don't keep the commandments so that they don't have to deal with this commandment here. You know, when you deal with, when you may ask a Christian, well, you know, because if you wanted to deal with the law with a Christian, you say, well, do you keep the 10 commandments? And they may say no, to govern themselves or to protect themselves from this commandment here because they don't observe the Sabbath. And you may ask them, well, how do you know, how do you govern your life? And they'll say, oh, the love of the Most High, or the love of Jesus. That's what they'll say. But we've just seen that the love of Christ is a matter of keeping the commandments. And then you'll have those who say they keep the 10 commandments. But then they'll say we're not supposed to keep the law, and they're just confused. See, it's been a witchcraft that's placed on us that we don't even gain understanding according to the source of understanding. We gain understanding according to what somebody has said. So it's been recommended that someone in these Christian churches keep the 10 commandments. But they don't realize in them saying, I keep the 10 commandments, that you have to also keep the law. That's the law. So in the same breath of them saying, I keep the 10 commandments, they'll say, but we're not supposed to keep the law. Just because they're unlearned. That's why it's important that we share this with people. Whether they accept it or not. It's our responsibility to share it. And then let the Most High deal with it. Go ahead and continue reading from there.
Verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee.
So fathers and mothers are due honor and respect, whether you agree with them or not. Just as you would look for your children to honor you, you should do towards your parents. I mean, even if your parent is a drug addict, or you know is far off base, and you guys have big differences, I'm not saying for you to agree and to walk in sin with your parent. But I'm saying, regardless of how your parent acts, you are to respect them and honor them, give them honor. They brought you into this. And the Most High says to honor them. He doesn't give a circumstance when it's all right not to honor your father or your mother. You're supposed to honor them. I'm not saying that if they're living unrighteous that you should be in it with them and in agreement with them, but honor them. Continue.
Verse 13, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Verse 15, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Verse 17, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor.
You know, most people don't have a manservant, maidservant, ox, or an ass, but it's basically just telling you, you know, instead of an ox, you may want to covet somebody's car, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is that they have. It's just speaking of material gains, not to covet what your neighbor has. So finally, we just read the last 6 commandments. And they instruct us as to how to love our neighbors. Not to mention the fact that 1 John 5:2 explains that we know that we love his children, our neighbors, when we love the Most High. Matter of fact, I'm going to read that real quick. You got it, brother? Go ahead and read 1 John 5:2.
1 John chapter 5, verse 7.
Verse 2.
Verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
By this we know that we love the children of the Most High, when we love the Most High and keep his commandments.
So there we go. We talking about this love. Let's get to the bottom of this love. Let's not just leave it at, oh, I know I know that I'm righteous by love. Okay, well, let's look at the love. So if we are to ignore the law, how then can we observe the commandments that Christ said are the greatest? The 2 greatest commandments that Christ said was to love. And when we've just shown that in loving the Most High and our neighbors, you have to keep the commandments. Read Deuteronomy 13, verse 18 for me real quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 18. When thou shalt hearken to the voice of the Most High thy power, to keep all his commandments, which I command thee this day, to do that which is right in the eye of the Most High thy power.
See, Moses explains that Israel should keep all the Most High's commandments that he commands on that day that he gave them those commandments. And then Moses goes on to teach Israel the laws of the Most High, and not solely the 10 commandments. Just as the 2 greatest commandments that Christ spoke of are a condensed version of the 10 commandments. You see how we went into that when it spoke of to love thy neighbor? And how do we love our neighbor? It's 6 commandments that show us how to love our neighbor. And it said also to love the Most High our power. How do we love the Most High our power? It says you will love me by keeping my commandments. But there were 4 specific commandments of the 10 that showed us how to love the Most High. So just as those 2 greatest commandments are condensed or a paraphrased version of the 10 commandments, so are the 10 commandments a condensed version of the law. The whole law basically falls under the 10 commandments. Now, to the point that faith in Christ is good enough. Let's deal with that. We've dealt with the law. We've dealt with love. Now let's deal with the faith question. Let's go to Revelations. Revelations 14. 14 and 12.
Revelations chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yeshua.
Okay, so we're dealing with that, with the faith. And you know that faith is good enough. So it says, here's the patience of the saints. So the angel that is speaking here to John is preparing to explain that the saints have been patiently waiting for something. It says, here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yeshua Christ. These saints that are waiting, while they're waiting, or they were keeping the commandments and the faith of Christ. Continue with verse 13.
Verse 13. And I heard a voice from heaven, saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which died in the Most High from henceforth.
So it says blessed. So the saints that keep the commandments and the faith of Christ are waiting for a blessing. Continue.
Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labor, and their works do follow them.
So a blessing, they're waiting for a blessing of rest from their labors after they die in the Most High. And their works will show as evidence to who they are and who they serve. Well, the question may be asked, what works? What works is being shown here? What is the works that is being talked about here? So to get some understanding on that, let's go to James.